You are tuned in to Divine Love, Enlightening Relationships. Welcome, souls of the earth. This podcast will be based around sex positivity, healthy relationships, personal triggers, toxic ego work, enlightenment, quantum shifts, and so much more.
Welcome back.
Hey.
Hey, babe.
Miss you.
I know, every week I even thought of this morning. I'm like, before we started recording, I'm like, we're going to talk about how much we miss each other. But we feel that this separation is coming to an end in a few weeks. So don't have a date yet, but soon we will be reunited. We know that.
Just think of that first episode we do when we're like next to each other, like or even in the same house. Imagine how amazing that's going to be.
I know the energy is going to definitely be intense for the rest of our lives.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, so I'm leading this one off, babe, because I felt so strongly that we needed to cover this early on when we were thinking of topics for the Divine Love podcast, and that is spirituality and why it's important. And thank you for agreeing to it.
Yeah, I think spirituality for me, people think it is a religion, but it's not. It's just a way. I believe it's a way of life. It's a way of being. It's a way of connecting. It's spirituality is like everything compiled into one, isn't it? It's about how we feel, what we do. But the thing is, what I like to get across to my clients as well as my friends and you is like the doing and the being. The doing is the masculine and the being is the feminine. And I know you've definitely tapped into your feminine since you met me.
Oh, thanks. No, it's true though. It's not. It's for people that don't understand the divine masculine and feminine. I mean that's inside all of us. And we'll do a podcast on like the divine masculine and then do one on the divine feminine and what that means. But that is more. I mean, I've always felt like I've been a sensitive empath, really, my whole life, but really tapping into those emotions, really, like I'm not afraid to say it. I've shed more tears in this relationship, many very happy tears, and then sad tears, missing you. This separation's been tough. So, tapping into that side of me where I'm more open, to growth, and I'm more open to bettering myself and facing, demons, trauma, all of those things. Like that is part of my divine feminine, where my masculine side's like, oh, just be a man, which I'm a manly man. I was in the military. I was an officer in the military. I played American football in college. I've always prided myself on being a man, but I've always prided myself too on my softer side.
Yep. And I think that is about having the balance. I think for women, the masculine for us is about just striving and striving and striving. It's the whole striving and never arriving. So it's about balance, I think. And a lot of men, if men are listening to this, it's to embrace your feminine. Listen to Chris. He's been in the military. He's been, he's American footballer. So like he said, he's a manly man, but it's important to embrace spirituality. And I think I'm just so lucky that I've got a man who does spiritual work. Like sometimes I pinch myself when you're like, I'm just going to go meditate. And I'm like, oh my God, where did he come from? Like, where did you come from?
Well, that's what, we're twin flames. It was meant. But yeah, no, the way everything's worked out for us, it's still phenomenal, and it still blows my mind, all this time later. But, spirituality to me, you kind of let off talking. It isn't religion, because I think people get tuned off, especially from the American perspective. I mean, you have the European, the UK English perspective. In the United States, maybe even into Canada and that parts of the world, when you start talking spirituality, a lot of people get turned off because religion, Christianity per se has really been woven into American politics, and I think it's really done a disservice to spirituality as a whole. That's just my opinion. But spirituality to me is way more than Christianity, which I grew up Christian, and, I still love Jesus. I think if we lived his doctrine like some of the other great teachers in history. If we actually lived what he said, we would have the ultimate utopian society. Love one another, don't judge. All of the tenets are there. It's just people haven't really been practicing it for the last couple thousand years.
I think it's misguidance, isn't it? I think it's just misguidance. And spirituality for me is about having something to believe in. I know there's atheists out there. Like, it's so funny because spirituality for us has like driven our relationship, hasn't it? We kind of hit off and we knew all these signs and synchronicities were there and they slammed in our face, so we had no choice just to, work through them. And we were kind of like, we were thinking, wow, like, can this get any better? And it has. It's just got better and better every single month. And these last 5 months being away from you, still we're doing the spiritual growth. I know we're going to touch on our course that we brought out last year. And we've just been kind of re-looking at that. And we've just sat watching a few of the videos that we put on the course thinking, wow, we were really in flow together. And that's what I can't wait for when we reunite. We're going to be like, the fireworks are going to go off. We'll probably end up bringing out more stuff together. But with spirituality, the thing is, whenever Chris and I talk about spirituality, our opinions are opinions. You could be listening to this and be like, oh, well, I'm a Taoist. And, we would love that because we're really trying to practice Taoism too. And there'll be parts of Buddhism that we want to practice. There's parts of Christianity that we want to practice. If you just combine and see all the different religions have amazing values, have amazing virtues that we can follow and bring into this world. But I know, Chris, we're going to touch on part of our course on this episode because obviously we kind of want to touch on it and push it out there because we have so much faith in it because it was just, it was channeled from our higher self. It was channeled from our guides. And that's probably the most unique part of it.
It was. I remember writing my notes. There's a thing called automatic writing where you don't really think, you just write. And so I was watching my videos again and I was like, wow, that was like one of the greatest lectures I've ever given or talks. And it was, 15, 20 minutes. But I think spirituality, it's like you mentioned atheists and I respect them. And there was a point in my scientific career where I was more agnostic. I was like, I don't know. I had a feeling there's something greater out there. I just, like I said, religion has been woven into American politics now, and it really has turned me off to church, which is unfortunate because I think this younger generation is growing up without such a hard spiritual influence or I shouldn't say hard, like just any spiritual influence, which makes me a little bit sad. So for me, that is why in the last few episodes I've talked about evidence, right? As a scientist, it's the way my brain works. I'm very analytical. I dissect things maybe too much. It probably drives Pip nuts sometimes because I just am. That's just the way my brain's wired. So when I jumped into this with Pippa, like so many months ago, it's those synchronicities like we talked about last week. Were giving me evidence. I've done past life regressions where I have said things, I've recalled things that there's no way I could have just made that up in my mind. It's, so I've been building evidence. I've been gathering evidence my whole life that there is something greater. So in our course, I think the first A we talk about is awareness. And just to sum it up, and you can get more in the course if you take it, I left last week talking about the Hubble deep field. Right, babe? So, and I remember you and I talking about this one for so long, especially early on in the relationship. When you realize there are billions of galaxies out there that are made up of 300, 400 billion suns or solar systems, which trillions of planets in each of those, you start to realize how insignificant Earth is, right? And it opens your mind up that there's something greater out there. So in the course, I talk about the big, and then I bring it all the way down into the microscopic, where that's where I used to live, cellular, biology, reproductive physiology, all of these things that I used to look at, genetics. And when you start breaking down all the molecules, what makes up a proton, electron, neutron, you get these tiny particles that the colliders looking at. They're looking for the God particle. And then you go to string theory, which basically, to sum all this up, means we're little packets of energy, strings of energy that make up those electrons, neutrons, protons, which make up carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, everything that makes us up, right? So in the grand scheme of things, we're nothing but energy. Everything around us is nothing but energy. So that, for me, really started to crack open the awareness of what this world really is.
I love how when I was rewatching our videos, you bring the science to it and I just bring the woo-woo because I was talking about awareness. Obviously, we don't want to go into too much detail because you really will get the real core of it when you take the course. But I was talking more about things, the awareness of being in your mother's womb. That awareness has started from the moment of conception. You know, that is that what Chris said, that energy, it starts from the moment of conception. And that's what I want to kind of get to listeners, is that you have that awareness throughout the first 9 months of your life. You know, you're listening, you're feeling, you know, you can, you know, your senses start to kick in, but the awareness is there. It's just there. There's like, as Chris said, it's matter. We're all made of this matter, and it wrecks your brain when you really, like I said, Chris and I spoke about it for hours, and it's more than your brain can comprehend, you know, looking into the Hubble field, because you just think, wow. And that's a postage stamp size of just billions of like, and it's like, and that could still go further on and further on and further on because of our you know, our microscopes and our telescopes don't go that far. So it's just like, wow. Even my brain now is like, wow. But I think awareness is where it all starts. Awareness is everything. Like, even with the work I do, you know, ego coaching, helping people, you know, become aware of what toxic ego is. Once you become aware, I think everything starts to shift. Everything starts to be different, because you think, it's like we spoke about our quantum shifts last year. You know, that was a huge awareness shift. It was like having a whole new concept, a whole new perception of the world. And one thing that I really like having look at, and I remember one of my good friends, Claire Stone, she was on my podcast a couple of weeks ago. She spoke about this in her school that I'm in, and it's similar to like what I always talk about. If there's a group of us, you know, sat on a field and we're all looking at the same tree, we will all see that tree different colors, different shades. We'll look at the branches, we'll look at the trunk, we'll look at the roots. And Claire was talking about these things you find on Facebook and Instagram where it's like, what color are these shoes? And it's like, are they white and gold? Or are they blue and black? And people just see different colors. And that, to me, fascinates me, because I feel like, look how much we see different things, because we have different perceptions. We're all on different levels of awareness. So for me, it's fascinating. So that's why we had, to be honest, Chris, and you'll agree, that course was phenomenal, as in, you know, it came to me in a vision. We sat with it, you know, we sat and we channeled. We, like you said, we automatically were writing things, and we put this course together. And, you know, we just want to get it out to more people, especially if you're, you know, I wouldn't say, even if you're just where we're at and you want to refresh. You know, we've just been watching the videos that we did almost like, probably like 8 months ago. And Chris and I were like, oh my God, yeah. You know, like a refresh. And we thought, oh my God, yeah. So if you're new to spirituality, if you want to deepen your spirituality, if you just want to connect more, it's literally for anyone on this journey. If you're a bit of an atheist and you don't really believe in much, but you want to try and believe something, it's for anyone. I believe it's for anyone.
For me, bringing this back to the twin flame journey too, and I think in any relationship, I mean, karmic, I don't know. Karmic, I obviously have my opinions on that. I don't know if you can really bring spirituality into it to improve that relationship. But a soulmate relationship, absolutely a twin flame relationship, you need spirituality. I think to be a twin flame, you absolutely have to connect to your inner self, or it won't work. I just have that firm belief after the experiences of the past 5 months. And looking back at myself, I mean, I've done separations from partners, but this, because the relationship's so intense with Pip, I needed my spirituality to get through these last 5 months, and it's going to be another 6 months, maybe 7 months till it will be a total of separation 7 months. I'm not saying another 5 or 6. I'm just saying 2 more months is what we're looking at of being apart. And my spirituality has carried me, and I've grown. It has, one of the things I talk about in the next day, we talk about alignment, is meditation. And like Pip opened up, I say, I'm going to go meditate. And she like pinches herself to have a guy that meditates.
I do pinch myself. It's like, that's the thing I want to mention about awareness too, is that when we have awareness, we sometimes forget we have awareness. And we take things for granted and we don't realize, and we're just kind of on this flow. And we have to bring it back to where you first found that awareness, where you first found that spark, where you first found that piece of life connection, whatever it was, that first moment you connected to spirit, or you had your first channel session, or whatever it is that makes you feel alive. And sometimes that's what Chris helps me to do, is that, being grateful that the fact that, I have Chris in my life. He meditates. He loves nature. He talks to trees. He hugs trees. Like everything that I was just like thinking about, it's like, oh my God, I have this man. And it makes you appreciate it. And again, that awareness deepens because you connect to the awareness again. And as you said, Chris, alignment is huge for me, being a Reiki teacher. And well, I'm a Reiki master now. Woohoo! So, I became a Reiki master last week. So my Reiki healing, is about alignment. It's about balance. It's about bringing into that, that alignment of your chakras, alignment of who you are, the balance of the masculine and feminine. Again, it's all about the balance of yin and yang, the balance of what's right and wrong. It's having a balance in all of life, isn't it? Especially with meditation.
Absolutely. And it's, it's like, oh, I wish we could give couples, some of these lessons. I hope people get some of these lessons out, because I could see a couple that struggles a little bit and they could connect spiritually and commit to it together. Because again, for the twin flame to work, you both need to be, I just believe you have to be spiritual. I just don't see how this relationship would work if I wasn't. If I was turned off, was not connected to my higher self. And when you triggered me multiple times, unintentionally, but our soul, your higher self is saying, hey, I need Chris to heal. So I'm going to trigger him today. And I'm going to say this, not meaning anything malicious, but it triggered me. If I didn't have my awareness or even my alignment, I just don't see how this would work, because I would be in ego. I would be like, oh, she's so mean, or she doesn't love me. And I'd run, because that's what my old wounds tell me to do. So getting back to meditation, it's, again, when I talk about the scientific side, I used to be an emergency meditator. I'd have a bad day. Even when Pip and I started dating, I would go float once a week. I'd go to this sensory deprivation chamber. It's a little pod. It's heavy salt magnesium water. You literally float on top. My head floats. You can't drown or anything. You don't sink. And I'd meditate for an hour. And I do that once a week. And it was helping me heal and get a little bit of alignment. But emergency meditation works, but it doesn't change who you are day to day. Research has shown if you meditate daily, whether it's 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, you actually live a calmer, a less stressful life. That it is you connecting to your higher self. You go about your day, you're calmer, you're able to handle stress more if you meditate every single day. And so that's the scientist in me pulling things out saying, haha, there's evidence that this works, right? So getting in alignment meditation's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, there's something you said there, Chris, that made me realize about when you said about me triggering you is like, yeah, if you didn't have the spiritual practice, again, that ego would just stay there and you just dwell on it for weeks. And it's like you said, if either one of us triggers each other, we have a ritual to get us out of it. You'll just switch off for a little bit. You'll go in nature. You'll go and sit with the trees. You'll center yourself. You'll align yourself. You'll meditate. You'll journal, and it's finding your way. Like we do talk about this in the course, so it's finding your way of doing it. And it's funny. There was something I wanted to say when you said, when you said about spirituality being, it turns you off. I said, well, my job is to turn you on. And I do a very good job of that.
You do.
It just, when you kept saying it, I was like, oh, you turned off. Well, that was my job. I turned you on.
Yes, you did. We'll get to those podcasts later. The sex positivity.
Yeah. So alignment's really important, guys, and alignment to you will look different to Chris and I. Again, the awareness, find the awareness, and then finding your alignment, finding what makes you tick, what makes you feel alive. You may want to meditate for an hour a day. If you do, great, go and do it. I like to do 10 minutes, and I have days where I don't meditate and I think, oh, I should have meditated. So, we're not perfect. We have days that we skip, but as our spiritual teachers would say, you just get up and do it again. You just get up and do it again. Sometimes we don't feel like doing yoga or going for a walk. Next day is a new day. The big part of it is not feeling guilty, not feeling like, giving yourself a hard time. But one thing that I always sticks in my brain, that is that we are a spiritual being having a human experience. I've never heard anything more true when it comes to quotes, phrases, life experience, everything like that, is the fact that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we wouldn't have come to earth if we didn't want to come and have this human experience. So when you're feeling sad, happy, angry, horny, whatever it is, just embrace it all.
Yeah. It's good food. Good sex, good laughs. That's all important. And Pip and I, sometimes when I do drop down to ego a little bit, I'm like, babe, we have to have the 3D. It can't all be 5D spiritual 24/7. So we have to do this, and I get a little bit, because I don't want to forget that, you can't be this high elevated being 24/7, because that's not what we're meant to be. We're meant to be human, make mistakes. And when I say trigger too, I guess maybe it's worthwhile to explain that real quick. A good example was yesterday. I wake up and I have my boys, so I'm very busy, but I get on Instagram and I'm looking at Pip's stories because I love seeing her face and I love listening to her. And she had a post and it said, I even forgot what it said, but it's like, do you love if? And then like you turned the swipe, but I didn't swipe. I just pressed the page. And it's just all about your boyfriend cheating on you, having online relationships, narcissistic. And I was like, what the bleep? I was like, and so I dropped into ego. I took a screenshot. I'm like, what is this? Is this a swipe at me? Are you mad at me? Like, what the hell? I guess if you clicked on the swipe, the story, it said, oh, if they play with your hair, oh, if they hold your hand, oh, if they pinch your butt, but they might be having an online affair, was like the last slide. She posted on her story of 9,000 followers. I'm like, thanks a lot. That was a trigger, right? She quickly backtracked and said, oh crap, I didn't see the last slide. I didn't even know what that was. I just thought it was cute, so I posted it. And so she took it down right away. Yeah, but there was a trigger, right? And so the universe, I believe, especially in a twin flame relationship, because it's meant to be challenging, she's meant to trigger me. So when I look at that, so this is what happened. I look at that. She said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did not realize what that was. Took it down. I let it go. I let it go right away. Whereas a year ago, 2 years ago, I'd be like, well, you should have paid more attention. You embarrassed me. I would have been in ego for longer. I was never that much of a jerk, but I still would have stayed in ego and had my feelings hurt for a day or two. Whereas now today, those things are so innocent. And I'm like, I don't even give it any energy. I'm like, okay. And I just, wipe my hands of it.
Yeah, I didn't mean to, obviously, but it was just one of those things again. Like, it was so innocent, but it was meant. There's so many incidents where we've had. I've done something so innocently, and it's triggered you something. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, but we end up laughing it off because we know it's meant, and we know it was divinely orchestrated by the universe, as everything is. And I know we want to talk about the other 3 A's because our course is about the 5 A's. And it's called The Answer. And the reason why we called it The Answer is because we feel like there's no one answer. Everyone has a different answer to what they're searching for. Everyone has a different answer to the question they're asking. Everything's different. So when we were building the course last year before we launched it, we just wanted to it just came naturally, didn't it? Like, we channeled it. It was like, boom, there, even the logo was there. Like, it was so effortless, like, just to have it there. Like, it was automatically channeled. And then obviously we had to write our notes and channel for our video. So we are going to talk about the other 3 A's briefly on another episode as a part 2, because we didn't want to just kind of rush the first 2 A's. But I think we just reminded ourselves how proud we are that we've actually got that course and it's out there, and we want it to reach more people because it's just sparked something in me today. It really has. Like, it was funny because Chris and I were playing it on 2 speed, and we were like laughing at our like faces going blah 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 blah. But it again, like, I could hear the words, and I'm thinking, wow. And I knew I was happy because you were downstairs. I knew you were downstairs. It was in my old house, and I knew you were downstairs, and you were probably writing your notes. And I was so happy on them videos. I'm happy now, but I just was so happy then because you were downstairs, not in New Zealand, thousands of miles away.
Not on the opposite side of the planet. I think just coming back to the spirituality standpoint too, you're right. Like, it was, I think, divinely inspired. And when you start to peel back, what do they say? Look behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, behind the curtain. When that fog of humanity, or humanness starts to peel back a little bit, when you do meditate and those synchronicities, you start seeing them. Shout out to my friend, Charlotte. She is like me, scientific, doesn't quite believe in this yet. I remember after our last podcast, she's like, okay, I want to look for a feather today. Within 5 minutes, she walks out to her car and there was a feather. And she texted me about it. I was like, see, it works. You have to be open. And for me, now today, I could never imagine a relationship with another woman where she wasn't spiritual and connected like Pip is. I just couldn't do it. So I just feel like it enhances our relationship that much more, not just because we're twin flame. If we were just soulmates, this journey, this spiritual journey together, it just makes your relationship everlasting. My belief. That's my belief. And I hope people listening can talk to their partner about this stuff and open up. And like I said, like, especially the American in me is like, it's not religion. Because that turns a lot of people off today. It is connecting to who you are. Pull up the Hubble Space Deep Field. Say, God, look at this. What do you think? What do you think? Look at that. Look at those billions upon billions of galaxies. Well, in the specific photo, you can only see about, say, 10,000 galaxies. But again, you're looking at trillions and trillions of suns with trillions upon trillions of planets. I believe there's life everywhere in this universe. And I think there's so many things the human brain can't comprehend. But to me, that starts to crack the egg. And then you go, okay, let's take it into the cellular level, that we're just basically energy. So again, that awareness, that's why it's the first day. When you start building that awareness, both of you as a couple come together, and then you start to really peel that onion, those layers back. And then you go, wow. And then you start, we're going to talk about manifesting and doing all the things that happened in your life. I think that the exciting bit for me, Pip, was then we could start manipulating the energy in a positive, loving way.
There's a question that's popping in my head. It must be something that the guides want me to ask for our sake. It comes up a lot and it just came into my head. It's about, I'll maybe ask you this question and then I'll answer it after you. So what would you say to listeners who are spiritual, they're open, but their partners are not so much, but they're so in love, everything's great, they're not, they don't really know if they're in twin flame or soulmate, not yet. So how would you tell them to go forward with that?
Yeah, it's good. That's funny because that's why we're so in tune. I was feeling, that's why I kind of went into that.
Yeah.
Like open up the Hubble deep field, because that is what I'm thinking. Somebody is like, wow, I really am into this, but my partner isn't. And they reject it and they're atheist and they don't believe in God or they don't believe in an afterlife. All of that stuff. You can't just, for me, especially as a man, you can't just go, oh, because a lot of guys, I think sometimes the manly man, they're scared of their divine feminine. That's kind of interesting. We're coming full circle now. They're scared to show that sensitive side. Society has drummed it into our heads that we can't cry. We have to be tough. We've got to lead. And if we show any softness, women aren't going to love us. My partner won't love me. Like sometimes I go back in ego, babe, when I'm crying and I'm like, I miss you and I love you so much. And I'm like, oh my God, she's going to look at me and go, well, you're a wuss. I don't watch it. Like the man, because that's society. So to answer that question, I would say introduce it softly, have an easy discussion, find out really where your partner's at. What do you really believe in? Hey, let's watch this quick, I think we linked it last week, this quick video on the Hubble deep field. What do you think? Like, doesn't it make you ponder what the universe is? Imagine having that conversation with your partner, not about what movie are we going to watch tonight on Netflix? That's my Southern draw. We going to go get drunk tonight, baby. Let's go dancing. I mean, which is fun and that's important, but is it compared to what do you really believe in? And then you start connecting on a spiritual level. And then I'll tell you what, I can't wait to start talking about it. The sex is phenomenal. When you're that connected with your partner, like it opens up so many more doors. You're so energetically connected. Your barriers drop. It's just, sorry. I'll talk hours about it, babe. I'm sorry.
I know. So I think how I'd answer that question is just it's like monkey see, monkey do. So everyone's got an inner child that still wonders, still has that wonder in them. They just forget along the way, as you said, as they grow up, they have conditions, beliefs. But I feel like if we just keep doing it daily, our partners will like, oh, she's meditating again. Oh, she's journaling again. I wonder what that's doing for her. But the thing is, clients I work with, their partners will turn around to them and say, I'm not like blowing my own trumpet here, but like I have clients who work with me for 4 weeks and their partners will say to them, it's been really like amazing since you've been working with Pip. You've become calmer, you've become more, connected, and you become better, but you become a better version of yourself. So your partner's is gonna be like, wow, she seems sexier and she seems like it just like Chris said, it's a natural thing. When you feel connected, you're really connected to who you are. So that question for me is just to keep doing it, but don't push it onto your partner, because that is what, even with everything, don't push it onto anyone, but just lead the way, be a leader and just lead the way, keep doing it and keep doing it. I mean, that's what I did with Chris. I just did it and, Chris was like, oh, I'll keep doing it. And obviously we did a lot of connection work anyway. So definitely people listening who have a non-spiritual partner, non-open partner, they're quite, like realistic, is just keep doing the work and see how it unfolds. And you will become a better partner, a better mother, a better father, a better friend, a better son and daughter, a better sister, a better brother. And they'll see the differences and hopefully they'll catch up.
Yeah. And it popped in my mind when you were talking, because I was like, we haven't done this yet because, as you know, in England. The weather's just crap. But I just imagined like us watching that video, like the Hubble Deep Field, and then going outside with a blanket, maybe a bottle of wine under the stars and looking up and just having that discussion about the universe.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we had sex, not discussion. But yeah, we can talk too. Yeah.
That was next. No, I'm saying like, if you want to, like, I'm trying to think if I'm a man, right. And I love my partner, but I'm not really all into this yet. Or I'm just like, okay, that's great, baby. And you're like, if you tell me I really would love it if we went outside with a blanket and a bottle of wine and you made moves on me while we were out there, maybe we have some sex out there, whatever, but it's like a hot date. But then you just have that discussion looking up at the stars and you connect at that level. Mm. We're going to do that in New Zealand, by the way. We will, because the weather here is amazing. The sex
part, yeah, plenty of it, yeah.
Well, that's just the sex part of it. We're going to go out under the stars. We'll have sex under the stars, but we're going to go under the stars. We're going to stare up at the sky. I have my telescope down here. We're going to bring that out and we're going to contemplate the universe. So things like that, where you can introduce your partner. If you're a man listening to this and that's a hot date with a woman, like going out with a blanket under the stars, bottle of wine. She's going to be on top of you, making out, having fun. But that's where you start those discussions and you just like, it's just your jaw hits the ground when you look at it and you really start contemplating it. Then something in you wakes up. Then you realize you start connecting to your higher self and you start developing that awareness.
Yeah, and I think you'll start to see how much your partner is happy and how much it's really, one, turning her on, but two, lighting her up. So it's again, like Chris, when you see me doing something I love, you love it because I'm just lit up. Like doing this podcast, I'm lit up. And yeah, I think it's important to hold space for your partner and their beliefs. If you have a non-spiritual partner and your spiritual, is just to hold space for them. Again, the awareness will kick in when it's right for them. Your quantum shifts will happen when it's meant. So it's keep connecting daily. Like Chris said, don't be an emergency meditator, an emergency journaler. Just get out as much as you can, journal as much as you can, meditate as much as you can, find your way, find how you do it, find what works best for you. If you do it nighttime, morning, daytime, whatever it is. And just remember that there's no right or wrong. It's how you connect and how you perceive. But one thing that I've been dying to talk about on this episode is our Patreon that's starting this week, which I'm so excited about because the Patreon is going to be bonus episodes. And Chris and I are going to be talking more about sex positivity. I think, are we going to tell them about one of our little bonus ones as a little taster or a teaser?
Well, I thought the good one is when we almost broke up for good. Like it was 2 steps, one step away. If I make the wrong decision, we're done.
Yeah, I think we're going to make that the first one. So if you're kind of like, oh my God, Pip and Chris nearly split up, what the hell? You want to find that out? We're going to be putting the Patreon link in the show notes so you can join and you'll have your bonus episodes. Again, there'll be 2 tiers. So your first tier will get your bonus episodes and your second tier, you'll have a call with me and Chris and you'll be in our Telegram group, which is Divine Love. And we'll be talking everything in there. Obviously, it's just a lovely community to have. But yeah, like one of those episodes when we nearly broke up, that'll be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, and then we'll do the fun stuff after that.
Yeah, we will. So guys, we'll leave you with that. We hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be back with part 2, talking about our other 3 A's. And again, if you're thinking, wow, this course is really firing me up, you really want to look into it, we'll put the link in the show notes. You can have a look at it. It's super affordable. It's a lot of content in there. It's got great content in there. It's got everything you need. It's got meditations, workbooks. It's got a video from both Chris and I separately on our take, the masculine and feminine. So it's really good for that, for connecting and deepening that spirituality.
Yep. And just thank you for listening. And I can't wait to do the next one.
Me too. Take care, guys. Bye.